Welcome to TV Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: call for more action to tackle romance fraud. The Village linked to a Christmas movie classic. DC United is planning a preseason trip to Saudi Arabia. Sales Tax Committee discusses project list. Ferrari is the latest example of Hollywood's love of brands. Call for more action to tackle romance fraud. BBC. Police forces and social media companies need to do more to help victims of romance scams, says Conservative MP Simon Fell, the government's new anti-fraud champion. Last year, the UK's National Fraud Intelligence Bureau received more than 8,000 reports of romance fraud, where someone is conned into sending money to a criminal who convinces them they are in a genuine relationship. Fell said the response of police forces to fraud varied across the country and there needed to be better coordination and consistency. The Village linked to a Christmas movie classic. BBC. The rural village of Burgham in the Scottish Borders has adopted the fictional town of Bedford Falls from the film It's a Wonderful Life as its twin. The connection came about after a regular showing of the film at the Village Hall. A sign proclaiming the twinning was originally only meant to be temporary, but the council never requested its removal. The film, made in 1946 and starring James Stewart, focuses on the importance of community. DC United is planning a preseason trip to Saudi Arabia. Washington Post. DC United is finalizing plans to become the second MLS team to conduct a portion of its 2024 preseason in Saudi Arabia. United would join Inter Miami for a training camp and exhibition matches in the kingdom, with the teams likely to overlap but not play each other. United officials have refused to comment further on the matter. Saudi soccer has grown in prominence recently after heavy investment, leading to a number of high-profile players joining the Saudi League. Sales Tax Committee discusses project list. Yahoo! A committee appointed by the Joplin City Council in Missouri has selected 16 street and bridge projects for the next 10-year cycle of the capital improvement sales tax. The list will be presented to the council as it promotes voter renewal next year of the sales tax of 3/8 of a cent. The City Council and city staff have already selected 12 non-discretionary projects worth $44.75 million that must be included in the list that goes to the voting public. The council's prioritized projects include 11 totaling $73.4 million and the committee's selections match 7 of those. Ferrari is the latest example of Hollywood's love of brands. Economist. The rise of brand biopics and merchandise movies reflects the film industry's aversion to risk, according to The Economist. The genre, which includes movies such as Ferrari and Barbie, allows studios to tap into ready-made audiences while also providing an opportunity to sell associated products. The strategy is seen as a safe bet for studios, as many titles are based on well-known brands or franchises. In 2024, filmgoers can expect a further wave of sequels, prequels and remakes. Biden convinced Netanyahu not to strike Hezbollah after Hamas attacks. The Independent. U.S. President Joe Biden convinced Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to forego an attack on Hezbollah following the October Hamas attack on Israel, according to the Wall Street Journal. Israeli aircraft were in the air on October 11, waiting for orders to launch a preemptive strike on Hezbollah forces. Biden contacted Netanyahu and expressed fears that such an attack would escalate the conflict into a regional war. Israeli intelligence had obtained information that Hezbollah fighters were planning to enter the country, but U.S. intelligence believed the information to be unreliable. Following a 6-hour series of calls, Israeli officials abandoned the plan for an attack. Sydney Sweeney in Sydney Harbour, and other Boxing Day films to check out. ABC. The Sydney Morning Herald has published a review of 4 films released on Boxing Day: Anyone But You, One Life, Poor Things and 2 Tickets to Greece. Anyone But You, filmed in Australia during the pandemic, is a rom-com that plays like a tourism ad for Sydney, featuring the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge and Bondi, among other iconic locations. The film is based loosely on Much Ado About Nothing, with a plot that revolves around a plan for the 2 main characters to pretend to be in love. Despite the beautiful locations and charismatic actors, the film is described as wooden and lacking the charm of director Will Gluck's previous work. One Life is a World War II weepie about an English aid worker who saves refugee children from the Nazis. The film is based on a true story and stars Anthony Hopkins, who is described as the best part of the movie. Poor Things is a bizarre film set in a Baroque steampunk world and follows a sentient science experiment named Bella. The film is filled with quirky characters and features Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe. Lastly, 2 Tickets to Greece is a French comedy about 2 middle-aged women who reunite for a trip to Greece after a falling out as teenagers. The film is described as a Gen X romp with a cheesy disco soundtrack. Jonathan Pryce reveals he apologized to Princess and about the crown. The Independent. Actor Jonathan Pryce has revealed that he apologized to Princess Anne for playing her father on the crown while receiving his knighthood. Pryce stars as Prince Philip in seasons 5 and 6 of Netflix's royal drama. In an interview with Times Radio, Pryce said that he took the opportunity to apologize to the royal for playing her father on the show. He also revealed that one of the cast had met a member of the royal family who intimated that they watched The Crown. Palace officials have previously stated that the royal family has nothing to do with how its members are portrayed in the series. It will get ugly, Nepo babies brace for billionaire inheritance battles. The Sydney Morning Herald. As the baby boomer generation begins to pass on their wealth, legal battles over inheritance are expected to increase. The generation is estimated to pass on $126 trillion in the US alone by 2045. UBS has also found that more billionaires are entering the exclusive club through inheritance than through their own efforts. Experts predict that the next 20 years will see more estate and trust disputes than ever before. Hurt feelings are the main cause of disputes, with children feeling they have been overlooked in their parents' will, or that a sibling has been favored. In some cases, the disputes become so bitter that even worthless objects within the family home can become the subject of litigation. NYPD cop Bader Richard Sharp busted for stealing rolling papers, police. Yahoo! An internet joker who posts videos of himself attempting to steal guns from police officers has been arrested for stealing Bob Marley rolling papers from a smoke shop in New York. Richard Sharp, 24, was recognized by a police officer at Port Authority bus terminal who arrested him. Sharp is known to local police for his attempts to steal guns, and for yelling racial slurs at an Asian police officer. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 dimensions. Today, we have an interesting mix of news to discuss, so let's dive right in. First up, Conservative MP Simon Fell is calling for more action to tackle romance fraud. With over 8,000 reports of romance scams in the UK last year, it's clear that something needs to be done. Fell is urging police forces and social media companies to work together more effectively to help victims and improve coordination and consistency in tackling this issue. Moving on, the rural village of Burgham in the Scottish borders has adopted the fictional town of Bedford Falls from the film It's a Wonderful Life as its twin. What started as a regular showing of the film at the village hall has now turned into a permanent connection, highlighting the importance of community. In sports news, DC United, a Major League Soccer team, is planning a preseason trip to Saudi Arabia. Following the success and investment in Saudi soccer, this move shows the growing prominence of the Saudi League and its attraction to international teams. On the local front, a committee in Joplin, Missouri has selected 16 street and bridge projects for the next 10-year cycle of the capital improvement sales tax. As the city promotes voter renewal of the sales tax, these projects will be presented to the council for consideration. It's always good to see local communities coming together to improve their infrastructure. Now, let's talk about Hollywood's love for brands. The rise of brand biopics and merchandise movies is a reflection of the film industry's aversion to risk. By tapping into ready-made audiences and associated products, studios are playing it safe. So get ready for more sequels, prequels, and remakes in the coming years. In international news, US President Joe Biden convinced Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to strike Hezbollah following an attack by Hamas. Biden's intervention prevented a potential escalation of conflict into a regional war. The delicate balance of international relations and intelligence assessments can have significant consequences. Shifting gears, let's talk about Boxing Day films. The Sydney Morning Herald has reviewed 4 films released on Boxing Day, including a rom-com set in Sydney, a World War II wee-pie, a quirky film set in a steampunk world, and a French comedy. While some of these films may have their charms, others seem to have missed the mark. But hey, there's always something for everyone. On a more light-hearted note, actor Jonathan Pryce has revealed that he apologized to Princess Anne for playing her father on the crown while receiving his knighthood. It's always interesting to see the intersection of fiction and reality, especially when it involves royalty. Finally, as the baby boomer generation begins to pass on their wealth, legal battles over inheritance are expected to increase. With trillions of dollars at stake, disputes over wills and trusts are becoming more common. It seems that hurt feelings and perceived favoritism are the main causes of these battles, even over seemingly insignificant objects. And for a lighter news story, an internet joker who posts videos of himself attempting to steal guns from police officers has been arrested for stealing Bob Marley rolling papers. Well, it seems karma has caught up with him. That wraps up our news for today. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you make of these stories? Do you have any funny or interesting anecdotes to share? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.